Sam Porter adjusted his formal jacket as he walked through the massive doors of the Grand Assembly Hall. The chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations. Floating platforms rose in tiers around a central speaking area, each one designed to accommodate the unique physical needs of different species. Some platforms held water for aquatic beings. Others were filled with specific gases or maintained at extreme temperatures. Sam had been serving as humanity's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 years now. He had grown used to the strange sights and sounds of this place. Today was supposed to be simple, just another quarterly review of humanity's provisional membership status. Nothing special. Humanity had only been spacefaring for 50 years. Compared to species with millions of years of history among the stars, humans were considered newcomers. Most council members viewed Earth's people as a curious but unremarkable addition to galactic society. They were polite enough, but Sam could tell that many of them saw humans as primitive children who had just learned to walk. He took his place on the small platform assigned to the human delegation. Around him, hundreds of alien beings floated, crawled, or stood on their own platforms. The chamber buzzed with 1,000 different languages, all being translated by the sophisticated systems built into the hall. Counselor Hal called the session to order. The crystalline being served as head speaker of the council. His body was made of what looked like living glass, and light refracted through him in beautiful patterns when he moved. His voice rang out clear and calm across the chamber. "We shall now address routine matters regarding provisional member species," Hal announced. "Ambassador Porter of Earth, please step forward." Sam moved to the central speaking platform. He had done this many times before. The questions were always the same. How was human expansion progressing? Were there any conflicts with neighboring systems? Standard bureaucratic matters. "Ambassador Porter," Hal said, "our records division has requested clarification on a minor matter. For proper biological classification of your species, we need to confirm the status of your. Is Earth a seeded world or a terraformed colony?" Sam blinked. The question seemed strange. "Neither, Counselor. Earth is our original. We evolved there naturally." "Yes, we understand that," Hal replied patiently. "But was the world prepared for life by the progenitors, or did your species arise on a sterile world that was later modified?" Sam shook his head slowly. "I am not sure I understand the question. Earth is a life-bearing world. It has always had life. We evolved alongside millions of other species." The chamber fell completely silent. Sam looked around, confused by the sudden change in atmosphere. Every alien eye, sensor, and optical organ was now focused on him with intense attention. Counselor, an amphibian-like diplomat from the Federation, leaned forward on her water-filled platform. "Ambassador Porter," she said carefully, "perhaps there is a translation error. Did you say millions of other species?" "Yes," Sam replied. "Earth has a very diverse biosphere. Millions of different plants, animals, and microorganisms share the planet with us." Counselor turned to look at Counselor, a tall being from the Hive Concordat. Even with his limited ability to read alien expressions, Sam could see that something was very wrong. The two counselors exchanged a look that seemed almost like fear. "This session is temporarily paused," Hal announced suddenly. His crystalline body had begun to pulse with rapid flashes of light. "I am calling for an emergency full assembly. All member species are required to attend. Ambassador Porter, please remain where you are." The chamber erupted into chaos. Hundreds of aliens began speaking at once. Some were leaving their platforms to cluster together in urgent conversation. Others were activating communication devices to contact there. Sam stood alone in the center of it all, completely lost. He pulled out his personal communicator and contacted his ship in orbit. "This is Ambassador Porter. I need you to prepare a full biological database of Earth. Something has happened, and I do not understand what. Understood, Ambassador, came the reply. Is everything all right? I honestly do not know, Sam admitted. He watched as the Grand Assembly Hall transformed from a calm, bureaucratic chamber into something that looked like a crisis response center. More and more aliens were arriving, filling platforms that had been empty before. The 500-member species of the Galactic Council were gathering, and all of them seemed deeply disturbed. A shadow fell over Sam. He turned to find Counselor standing behind him. The being was nearly 3 meters tall, with a hard exoskeleton and multiple limbs. His compound eyes reflected Sam's confused face 1,000 times over. Ambassador Porter said quietly, his voice clicking and buzzing through the translator. I must ask you something before the full assembly begins. Of course, Counselor. Lowered his massive head closer to Sam. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. How did your species survive your? Sam stared at him. I do not understand. Earth is our home. It is where we come from. You say your world has indigenous life, continued. Millions of species, all competing for resources, all fighting to survive. His antennae twitched nervously. Such a world would be a death trap, a nightmare of constant biological warfare. How did soft, fragile creatures like humans live long enough to develop civilization? Sam opened his mouth to answer, but no words came. He had never thought about Earth that way. To him, it was simply home. The forests and oceans and grasslands were just part of normal existence. He had grown up watching nature documentaries, visiting national parks, learning about the web of life that covered his planet. But looking at its obvious terror, Sam began to realize that what was normal to him might be deeply abnormal to the rest of the galaxy. I suppose, Sam said slowly, we just learned to adapt. Stared at him for a long moment. Then he stepped back, shaking his great head. The Council must hear everything, he said, and I fear that what you tell us will change how we see your kind forever. Sam watched the Counselor walk away. Around him, the emergency assembly was nearly complete. 500 species, representing trillions of beings across the galaxy, had gathered to hear about a small blue planet called Earth. And Sam Porter, a simple diplomat from a world he had always considered ordinary, was about to discover just how extraordinary his home truly was. The emergency assembly had gathered in full. Sam Porter stood at the center of the Grand Assembly Hall, surrounded by 500 different species. Every platform was occupied. Every eye was watching him. The silence was so complete that Sam could hear his own heartbeat. Counselor Hal addressed the chamber. This session has been called to discuss newly revealed information about the human. Ambassador Porter, please explain to the full council what you told us earlier. Sam cleared his throat. I mentioned that Earth is a life-bearing world with millions of indigenous species. A ripple of murmurs spread through the assembly. Many of the aliens who had not been present for the earlier session reacted with visible shock. Sam waited for the noise to settle before continuing. Before I go further, may I ask why this information is so surprising? I assumed that most species evolved on similar worlds. Counselor spoke up. He was an ancient being who resembled a walking tree, with bark-like skin and branches that served as arms. As the Council's historian, he had access to records spanning millions of years. Ambassador Porter, 98% of spacefaring species in this galaxy evolved on sterile worlds, explained. Our planets were prepared for us by the progenitors, an ancient civilization that seeded life across the stars. They created perfect conditions for single species to develop, clean worlds, safe worlds, worlds without competition. Sam tried to process this information. So most of you have never shared your planets with other life forms. Correct, said. Indigenous life is extraordinarily rare. Only 3 known species in galactic history evolved on worlds with other organisms. All three are classified as extremely dangerous. I see, Sam said slowly. Then I suppose I should give you a proper introduction to Earth. He activated the holographic display system and brought up an image of Earth from space. The blue marble hung in the air above him, beautiful and familiar. White clouds swirled over blue oceans and green continents. This is Earth, Sam announced, our home. Counselor raised one webbed hand. Ambassador, what is the green coloring on the land masses? That is plant life, Sam replied. Forests, grasslands, and jungles cover most of our continents. Several gasps echoed through the chamber. The entire surface is covered in organisms, asked. Not just the surface. The oceans are full of life as well. In fact, life on Earth began in the oceans billions of years ago. An elderly amphibian near actually fainted, slipping beneath the water on his platform before attendants rushed to help him. Sam decided to call for assistance. I would like to introduce Doctor our ships. He can provide more detailed scientific information. A holographic image appeared beside Sam. The young scientist looked nervous but determined. He had been listening to the session from orbit and understood the situation. Hello, honored counselors, said. I understand this information is difficult to accept. Let me share some basic facts about Earth's biosphere. He brought up a series of charts and images. Earth's oceans contain an estimated 2 million species. This includes fish, mammals, invertebrates, and countless microscopic organisms. 2 million, someone shouted from the upper platforms, in the water alone. That is our current estimate, yes. We discover new species regularly. Counselor Hal's crystalline body had stopped glowing entirely. He looked almost gray. Doctor, are you telling us that you do not even know how many species exist on your world? That is correct, Counselor. Our best scientific estimate is approximately 8.7 million total species, but we have only identified about 2 million of them. New species are found every year. The chamber erupted. Several counselors began shouting in their native languages. Others simply stared in stunned silence. A few left their platforms entirely, unable to continue listening. This must be a mistake, High Researcher called out. The chief scientist of the Galactic Survey Corps was a being made of pure energy, contained within a mechanical shell. No world could support such biological chaos. The competition for resources would be catastrophic. Competition is exactly what drives life on Earth, explained. Every species fights to survive. They compete for food, water, territory, and mates. The ones that adapt survive. The ones that do not adapt go extinct. He brought up footage of an African savanna. Herds of zebras and wildebeest crossed the golden grassland while lions watched from the shade of a tree. What are those creatures doing? Counselor asked. The gaseous being floated in a containment field, his form shifting constantly. The striped animals are herbivores, they eat plants. The large cats are predators, they hunt and eat the herbivores. Eat, repeated. You mean they consume other living beings? Yes, that is how most complex life on Earth survives, by consuming other life. The footage changed to show a lion chasing down a zebra. Several counselors cried out in horror as the predator made its kill. Turn it off, Counselor demanded. This is barbaric. Sam stepped forward. I apologize if this is disturbing, but this is normal life on Earth. This is how our world works. Everything is connected. Plants grow from the soil. Herbivores eat the plants. Predators eat the herbivores. When predators die, their bodies return nutrients to the soil. It is a cycle. A cycle of death, said. A cycle of life, Sam corrected gently. Without predators, herbivore populations would explode and destroy all plant life. Without herbivores, plants would choke the land. Every species plays a role. Every death enables new life. Counselor had been frantically searching through ancient records on his personal device. Now he looked up. his wooden face carved with deep lines of concern. "I have found references to worlds like Earth in the oldest progenitor archives," he announced. "They called such places gardens of chaos. They refused to seed life there because the existing organisms would destroy any new species introduced. The progenitors feared these worlds." "The progenitors feared Earth?" asked. "They feared all life-bearing worlds. They considered them too dangerous to approach." Turned to look at Sam. "Ambassador Porter, I must ask you directly. In this system of competition you describe, where does humanity fit? Are humans predators or prey?" Sam considered the question carefully. "We are both, Counselor, and neither. Humans are omnivores. We can eat both plants and animals. In our early history, we were hunted by larger predators, but we learned to work together to build tools to protect ourselves. Eventually, we became the dominant species on our planet." "You rose to dominance through violence?" asked. "Through adaptation," Sam said. "Through cooperation, through intelligence. We learned that working together gave us strength that no individual could match." Added more images to the display. Photographs of human cities, farms, and families appeared alongside images of forests and wildlife. "Humans did not conquer Earth by destroying other life," explained. "We found ways to live alongside it. We domesticated animals for food and companionship. We cultivated plants for agriculture. We are part of Earth's web of life, not separate from it." The chamber was quieter now. The initial panic had given way to something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or fascination mixed with fear. Counselor Hal finally spoke again. "Ambassador Porter, Doctor, I believe the Council needs time to process this information, but I have one more question before we adjourn." "Of course, Counselor." "You said humans learned to work together. You domesticated other species. You built civilizations on a world that should have killed you." Hal's crystalline form began to glow faintly again. "Why did you never mention any of this before? In 3 years of contact, you never told us that Ur was alive." Sam looked at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. Most showed fear. Some showed wonder. A few showed something that might have been respect. "Counselor," Sam said simply, "we did not know it was unusual. To us, Earth is just home." The session was adjourned, but Sam knew this was only the beginning. The emergency session resumed the following day. Sam Porter had not slept well. Throughout the night, his communication device had buzzed with messages from dozens of alien delegations. Some demanded more information. Others warned him to leave Council space immediately. A few, surprisingly, expressed cautious interest in learning more about Earth. When Sam entered the Grand Assembly Hall, he found it even more crowded than before. Word had spread across the galaxy. Species that rarely attended council meetings had sent representatives. The chamber hummed with tension and whispered conversations. Counselor Hal called for order. "We will continue our examination of the human. Ambassador Porter, the Council has prepared specific questions." High Researcher spoke first. "Ambassador, yesterday you claimed that Earth hosts approximately 8.7 million species. Our scientists have analyzed this claim and find it impossible. Please provide verification." Sam nodded too, whose holographic image appeared again. The pulled-up detailed charts and scientific data. "I understand your skepticism, High Researcher. Let me break down the numbers." Highlighted different categories on his display. "Earth has approximately 7.8 million animal species. This includes 1.5 million species and an estimated 6.3 million still undiscovered." "How can you not know what lives on your own planet?" demanded. "Earth is very large and very diverse," explained. "New species are found in remote jungles, deep oceans, and underground caves every year. Many are small insects or microscopic organisms that are difficult to study." "Insects," Counselor repeated. "You mentioned these yesterday. What are they?" "Insects are a class of small animals with exoskeletons. similar to your own biology, Counselor. They are the most numerous animals on Earth. Paused. There are over 900,000 known insect species. Scientists estimate the true number may exceed 5 million. Santeni went rigid. You are saying there are millions of creatures on your world that share my basic body structure? In some ways, yes. Though Earth insects are generally much smaller, most are harmless to humans, some are beneficial, smiled slightly. Many humans find insects fascinating. And the rest of your species count, pressed. Continued his breakdown. Beyond animals, Earth has approximately 400,000 plant species, around 600,000 species of fungi, and an estimated 100,000 to 200,000 species of protists and other microorganisms. These numbers do not include bacteria and viruses, which number in the millions. The chamber erupted again. Several counselors stood up on their platforms, demanding attention. Bacteria, counselor floated forward. You have bacteria on your world. Yes, bacteria are among the most common life forms on Earth. They live everywhere, in soil, water, air, and even inside other organisms. Inside, gaseous form rippled with agitation. You allow bacteria inside your bodies. Sam stepped in to answer this one. We do not exactly allow it, counselor. Bacteria have always been part of Earth's environment. Human bodies have evolved alongside them. In fact, our bodies contain more bacterial cells than human cells. Dead silence fell over the assembly. Repeat that, Counselor Hal said slowly. The average human body contains approximately 38 trillion bacterial cells, Sam said. We only have about 30 trillion human cells. Most of these bacteria are harmless or even helpful. They aid in digestion and protect us from harmful organisms. You are hosts, whispered. You carry other life forms inside you. Essentially, yes. We have a symbiotic relationship with many microorganisms. Counselor retreated to the far edge of his platform. This is beyond anything I could have imagined. Humans are not a single species. You are walking ecosystems. High Researcher had been making calculations throughout the discussion. Now he looked up with something like horror in his energy field. Based on these numbers, I am forced to revise our classification of Earth. Ambassador Porter, you now qualifies as a Category 5 death world. This is the highest danger rating we have. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Only 2 other planets in known space carry this classification, continued. Both are quarantine zones. No ships are allowed within 10 light-years of them. The native life on those worlds destroyed 3 exploration fleets before we learned to stay away. Earth is not like those worlds, Sam protested. The classification is based on biological danger levels, not intentions, replied. Any world with indigenous life that could threaten a standard galactic species qualifies. Earth exceeds every threshold we have. Counselor spoke up again. I have found more information in the ancient records. The progenitors documented 17 life-bearing worlds during their time. They destroyed 14 of them. Destroyed, Sam felt cold. What do you mean? They sterilized them, burned away all native life so the worlds could be safely colonized. His wooden face was grim. The 3 worlds they left alone were considered too dangerous to approach. Earth may have been one of them. Sam's mind raced. The progenitors had destroyed entire biospheres. Trillions upon trillions of organisms wiped out because they were considered too dangerous to exist alongside galactic civilization. The progenitors are gone now, Counselor pointed out. They disappeared millions of years ago. We cannot destroy Earth even if we wanted to, and I am not certain we should want to. The human plague must be contained, Counselor argued. They carry diseases, parasites. They are hosts to organisms that could devastate unprepared populations. We are not a plague, Sam said firmly. We have lived with these organisms for millions of years. We have immune systems that fight harmful bacteria and viruses. We have developed medicine to treat diseases. Humanity has survived every biological threat Earth has thrown at us." "And how many of you died in the process?" asked. Sam hesitated. "Many. Throughout our history, diseases have killed millions, but we learned, we adapted, we got stronger." "Millions dead, and you call this success?" "I call it survival," Sam replied. "Every species on Earth has faced extinction at some point. The ones that still exist are the ones that found ways to keep living. Humans are no different. We are survivors." Added more images to the display. Historical photographs of human achievements appeared: the pyramids, the Great Wall, cities stretching to the horizon, spacecraft launching toward the stars. Humans built civilization while fighting off predators, parasites, and diseases that could have wiped us out at any moment, said. Every human alive today is descended from ancestors who survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and natural disasters that killed most of their generation. We are the children of survivors. Counselor studied the images with deep interest. This explains much. Your species developed technology at an unusually rapid pace. You went from primitive tools to spacecraft in mere thousands of years. Most species take millions of years to make such progress. We had to, Sam said. On Earth, standing still means death. We had to keep moving, keep improving, keep finding new ways to survive. That pressure shaped everything about us. Counselor Hal raised one crystalline arm for silence. The Council must discuss what we have learned. Ambassador Porter, your delegation will be confined to your ship until we reach a decision. This is for everyone's safety. Sam wanted to argue but knew it would do no good. I understand, Counselor, but before I leave, may I say one thing? Hal nodded. Earth may be dangerous by your standards, but it is also beautiful. It is a world of incredible diversity where millions of different life forms have found ways to coexist. Yes, there is competition. Yes, there is death, but there is also cooperation, symbiosis, balance. Sam looked around the chamber at the fearful faces watching him. Humans are not monsters. We are simply the children of a living world, and we have so much we could share with you if you give us the chance. The chamber was silent as Sam walked away. Behind him, 500 species began debating humanity's fate. 3 days passed while Sam Porter waited aboard the human diplomatic vessel. The ship orbited the Council station at a safe distance, as ordered. Sam spent most of his time answering questions from Earth. News of the Council's reaction had spread quickly, and humanity was struggling to understand why their planet was considered so terrifying. On the 4th day, a message arrived. A smaller group of senior counselors wished to meet with the human delegation privately. They wanted to understand more before the full council made its final decision. Sam traveled to the council station accompanied by Ambassador Grace Miller, who had been sent from Earth to assist with the crisis. Grace was a veteran diplomat with decades of experience. She had negotiated treaties with a dozen alien species and remained calm under pressure. They were joined by General Tony Reeves, a military liaison who could provide context on human history, and Dr., who continued to serve as their scientific expert. The meeting took place in a private chamber far from the Grand Assembly Hall. Only 6 counselors attended. Hal and were there. 2 new faces joined them. One was Counselor, a telepathic being whose species could sense emotions. The other was a small, furry creature named Counselor, who represented a species known for their cautious wisdom. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Hal began. The full council is deeply divided on how to proceed. Some wish to quarantine your species entirely. Others believe you may be valuable allies. We hope this conversation will help us decide. Grace nodded respectfully. We appreciate the opportunity, Counselor. Ask us anything. Counselor spoke first. Her voice was soft, almost musical. I can sense your emotions, Ambassador Miller. You are nervous but sincere. You genuinely wish for peace between our peoples. I do, Grace confirmed. Humanity has no hostile intentions toward the Galactic Council. We simply want to find our place among the stars. Yet your history suggests otherwise, said. We have studied your records. Humans have been at war with each other throughout your existence. You have killed billions of your own kind. General Tony Reeves answered this one. That is true, Counselor. Human history includes many wars. We do not hide from this fact. Then how can you claim peaceful intentions? Tony considered his words carefully. On Earth, we evolved competing for limited resources. Different groups of humans fought for territory, food, and survival. This competition drove us to develop better tools, better strategies, better ways of organizing ourselves. War was often the result. You are proving my point, said. Let me finish, please. Yes, we fought, but we also learned. Every major war in human history was followed by a period of reflection. We developed laws, treaties, and international organizations to prevent future conflicts. We created the concept of human rights. We built systems to ensure that even enemies could eventually become friends. Tony paused. We are not perfect, but we are always trying to become better. Counselor leaned forward with interest. This pattern of conflict followed by cooperation is unusual. Most species either remain peaceful or remain violent. You seem to oscillate between the two. That is because humans contain both impulses, Grace explained. We can be aggressive when threatened, but we also have a deep capacity for compassion, cooperation, and love. These competing drives create tension, but they also create balance. Love, Counselor asked. What do you mean by this term? Grace smiled. Love is a strong emotional bond between individuals. Humans form deep attachments to family members, friends, and even strangers. We will sacrifice our own safety to protect those we love. Parents will die for their children without hesitation. This protective instinct, said slowly, I can sense it in all of you. It is remarkably strong, stronger than self-preservation in some cases. Yes, Sam agreed. Humans will fight hardest when protecting others. It is one of our defining traits. Counselor spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet and thoughtful. You mentioned forming bonds with strangers. Can you explain this further? Pulled up images on a small holographic display. Humans do not limit their attachments to their own species. We form bonds with other animals as well. We call these domesticated animals pets. The images showed humans with dogs, cats, horses, and other animals, children playing with puppies, elderly people holding cats, families gathered with their various animal companions. You live alongside other species voluntarily, asked with amazement. More than that, we love them. Many humans consider their pets to be family members. We care for them, feed them, and mourn when they die. Stared at the images. This is extraordinary. On your death world, surrounded by predators and parasites, you chose to bring other creatures into your homes. Some of those creatures help us, explained. Dogs helped us hunt and protected our camps. Cats killed rodents that ate our food supplies. Horses carried us across great distances. But over time, these relationships became about more than utility. We genuinely care for these animals. Counselor closed her eyes for a moment, sensing the emotional states of the humans more deeply. When she opened them again, she looked at her fellow counselors with something like wonder. They are telling the truth. Their attachment to other species is genuine. They feel the same protective love for these animals that they feel for their own young. She paused. This is remarkable. I have never encountered a species with such expansive emotional capacity. That is precisely what concerns me, said. Strong emotions can be dangerous. They lead to irrational actions. They also lead to heroism, Tony countered. Every story humanity tells about heroes involves someone putting themselves at risk to help others. We celebrate those who protect the weak, who stand up against injustice, who sacrifice for the greater good. These values are central to who we are. Counselor Hal had been quiet throughout this exchange. Now he spoke. Ambassador Miller, there is one matter we have not discussed, your medical science. Doctor mentioned earlier that humans have developed treatments for diseases. Tell us more. Grace gestured to explain. Human medicine has evolved over thousands of years, said. We learned to identify harmful bacteria and viruses. We developed vaccines that teach our immune systems to recognize and fight specific diseases. We created antibiotics that kill harmful bacteria. We have nearly eliminated some diseases that once killed millions. You have learned to fight biological threats at the microscopic level. High researcher asked through a communication link. He was attending remotely. Yes, our immune systems do most of the work naturally, but we have enhanced these natural defenses with technology and medicine. Paused. This knowledge could be valuable to the galaxy. Many of your species have never faced bacterial or viral threats. If such threats ever emerged, you would have no defenses. Humanity could help you prepare. The counselors exchanged meaningful looks. You are offering to share your medical knowledge? Asked. We are offering to share everything, Grace said. Our history, our science, our art, our mistakes, and our successes. Humanity does not want to be feared. We want to be partners. We want to contribute to galactic civilization, not threaten it. Counselor nodded slowly. I believe them. Their intentions are genuine. They are not hiding hostility behind friendly words. They truly want peace and cooperation. One telepath's opinion does not outweigh the danger, insisted. No, agreed. But it should be considered alongside the evidence. These humans evolved on a world that should have killed them. They survived through cooperation, adaptation, and yes, sometimes violence. But they also developed compassion, art, science, and philosophy. They domesticated other species out of love as much as utility. They are unlike anything we have encountered before. Hal stood, his crystalline body catching the light. Thank you for your honesty, Ambassador Miller, Ambassador Porter. We have much to consider. The full council will vote on humanity's status tomorrow. As the humans left the chamber, Sam noticed Counselor watching them with a thoughtful expression. She did not look afraid anymore. She looked curious. Perhaps that was progress. The Grand Assembly Hall was filled beyond capacity. Every platform was occupied. Additional seating had been constructed to accommodate the overflow of representatives who wanted to witness this historic vote. Sam Porter stood at the center of the chamber once again, flanked by Ambassador Grace Miller, General Tony Reeves, and Dr. Counselor Hal called the assembly to order. Today we will determine humanity's future relationship with the Galactic Council. 3 proposals are before us. First, complete quarantine of the human species and their. Second, continued provisional membership with enhanced monitoring. Third, full membership with all associated rights and responsibilities. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations. Sam tried to read the mood of the assembly but found it impossible. Hundreds of alien faces showed emotions he could not interpret. We will begin with statements from counselors who wish to speak, Hal continued. Counselor, as our historian, you may address the assembly first. The ancient tree-like being rose slowly on his platform. His bark-covered face was solemn as he began to speak. Fellow counselors, I have spent these past days searching our oldest records. The progenitors left extensive documentation of their encounters with life-bearing worlds. They feared these places. They called them gardens of chaos, where only the strongest survive. When possible, they destroyed the native life to make these worlds safe for colonization. Murmurs spread through the chamber. But the progenitors are gone, continued. They vanished millions of years ago, leaving us to carry on alone, and in all that time we have never encountered a species quite like humanity. He turned to look at Sam. Humans evolved on a world that should have destroyed them. They faced predators, diseases, parasites, and competitors at every turn. By all logic, they should have gone extinct long ago. Instead, they thrived. They built civilizations. They developed art, science, philosophy, and medicine. They learned to cooperate with each other and with other species. They turned their deadly world into a home. His voice grew stronger. The progenitors believed that life-bearing worlds produced only monsters. Humans proved that they were wrong. Compassion and cooperation can emerge from even the harshest environments. Counselor stood next. I will admit that I was frightened when I first learned about Earth. The idea of millions of species competing for survival seemed like a nightmare. But the more I have learned about humans, the more impressed I have become. She gestured toward the human delegation. These beings evolved alongside predators that could tear them apart. Yet they developed a protective instinct so strong that they will risk death to save strangers. They domesticated other species not just for utility, but for love. They created systems of law and morality to protect the weak from the strong. Is this what monsters do? Counselor rose to present the opposing view. I do not deny that humans have admirable qualities, but we cannot ignore the danger they represent. Their bodies carry billions of bacteria. Their history includes devastating wars and plagues. If they were to spread through the galaxy without controls, the consequences could be catastrophic. Every human is a walking ecosystem, continued. They host organisms that our species have never encountered. Our immune systems would have no defense against human diseases. A single outbreak could devastate entire civilizations. Stepped forward, Counselor, may I respond? Hal nodded permission. You are correct that humans carry microorganisms that could be dangerous to other species, but we are also experts in fighting such threats. Activated a holographic display showing human medical achievements. Humanity has developed vaccines, antibiotics, and antiviral treatments over thousands of years. We have quarantine procedures for controlling outbreaks. We have dedicated our resources to understanding and defeating disease. We offer this knowledge freely to the Council, continued. Our medical science could help protect your species from biological threats, not just from us, but from any source. The galaxy may face challenges in the future that require this expertise. Humanity is prepared to help. Counselor spoke from her platform. I have monitored the emotions of the human delegation throughout these proceedings. They are nervous, hopeful, and genuinely concerned for I sense no hidden hostility, no secret plans for conquest. They truly want to be our partners. She paused, her large eyes sweeping across the assembly. I also sense something else, a quality I have rarely encountered in such strength. Humans have an enormous capacity for empathy. They can imagine the suffering of others and feel it as their own. This drives them to help, to protect, to heal. It is remarkable. Sam Porter stepped forward to deliver his final statement. He had prepared careful words, but looking at the hundreds of watching faces, he decided to speak from the heart instead. Counselors, I stand before you as a representative of a small blue planet called Earth. When I came here a few days ago, I thought mine was ordinary. I have learned that it is extraordinary, that humans are extraordinary, not because we are dangerous, but because we survived dangers that would have destroyed most species. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Earth is not just a death world, it is a living world, a world where millions of different life forms have found ways to coexist. Yes, there is competition. Yes, there is predation. But there is also symbiosis, cooperation, and balance. The forests, oceans, and grasslands of Earth are not battlefields. They are communities, complex, interconnected systems where every organism plays a role. Humans are part of that community. We are predators and prey, hosts and partners, competitors and cooperators. We contain all these things because our world taught us that survival requires flexibility. That strength alone is not enough, that the greatest power comes from working together. Sam looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could. We come to you with open hands. We offer our knowledge, our friendship, and our protection. We ask for nothing except the chance to prove ourselves worthy of your trust." He stepped back, his statement complete. Counselor Hal called for the vote, all in favor of complete quarantine. A scattering of lights appeared across the assembly. Sam counted them anxiously, fewer than 100. The quarantine proposal had failed. All in favor of continued provisional membership. More lights this time, but still a minority. The second proposal also failed. All in favor of full membership. Lights bloomed across the chamber like stars appearing at sunset. Platform after platform lit up as counselors registered their support. Sam held his breath as the counting systems tallied the votes. "The motion passes," Hal announced. "Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities." Grace grabbed Sam's arm, her professional composure cracking into a wide smile. Tony clapped on the back. Around them, the chamber erupted into a chaos of different species reacting to the historic vote. Counselor approached the human delegation. "Congratulations, Ambassador Porter. You have achieved something remarkable today." "We could not have done it without counselors who were willing to listen," Sam replied. "A delegation will be formed to visit Earth," said. "I intend to volunteer. I wish to see these forests and oceans you have described. I wish to walk on a living world." Counselor joined them. "I will volunteer as well. The oceans of Earth sound extraordinary, so much life all in one place." "You are both welcome," Grace said warmly. "Earth can be dangerous, but we will keep you safe, and we think you will find it beautiful." As the assembly dispersed, Sam found a quiet moment near a viewport. He looked out at the stars, thinking about the long journey that had brought humanity to this point. From caves on an African savanna to the center of galactic civilization. From prey hiding from predators to full members of an interstellar community. He thought about the forests of his childhood home in Colorado, the mountains rising against blue skies, deer grazing in meadows while eagles circled overhead. He had always found peace in those places. Now he wondered what alien visitors would think when they saw their first Earth sunrise, when they heard their first bird song, when they felt their first ocean breeze. The galaxy had spent millions of years fearing life-bearing worlds. Tomorrow, they would begin learning to appreciate them instead. Sam smiled and turned away from the viewport. There was work to do. Humanity had a new place in the cosmos, and they intended to make the most of it. The children of a living world had finally found their family among the stars.